Hello everybody. I think I've made you wait long enough. I'm going to say it right now. This is probably the hardest live stream I've ever tried to come up with. I don't know how successful I will be, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I've done a lot of preparation. I've certainly given you enough time to collect yourselves ready to discuss this topic. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat as best I can, but like everything, it's not always possible. I'll do my best to see your feedback as often as I can. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Honestly, I'm going to put up a poll. Feel free to take part in that poll if you want to. Make sure you have some food and some drink. I'm going to be here for a while because after this, I'm on holiday. I'm not going to work. Yesterday was brutal. I've had enough. So I'm not going to work. Instead, I'm going to go and rest. That's really what I'm going to do. Is I need a big rest. So before I go, let's cover this topic. Let's deal with the Lich. So I think it's time to get going, don't you? I think it is too. Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about how to fix a monster, a particular monster, a monster which I have run many times, different ways, and we're going to fix the Lich stat block for Dungeons & Dragons 5e. I'm going to make it clear now, that's no easy task. I've run the stat block for the Lich a number of times as written, doing the best I can with what was set out because I was part of the beta test and the alpha play test. I've also run it once it was published in the monster manual, and there are significant problems in my opinion. One of the things is it's often viewed as a solo monster, but if it's not viewed as a solo monster and you put minions and lieutenants with it, it is picked out as the leader. And it's very easy at high level, considering the level that you'll be playing at, for the leader to get absolutely squashed. And that tends to be what I've found. It's going to happen. Like the players are just not going to target anything but the Lich. So the Lich just gets absolutely nailed to the wall. And it's usually dead. Probably before even a single, a whole round is actually finished. You might not even get to the bottom of the initiative order. It is literally how fast players at that level will smash it to pieces. So what I've done is I've taken a Google document, I've ported that over, and I've got as much of the information in there as I can. Plus I've made some notes where I know I need to make some adjustments and do some things to it. Okay. So I can see there's a lot of feedback. I'm probably not going to have time to read through all the feedback. I will sort of remark occasionally. I have heard nothing from AJ Pickett people saying that he would be here today. There was no discussion with me. And I was talking to AJ, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was probably yesterday. So he mentioned nothing about coming to this particular live stream to me. So I don't know if he's going to be here. So don't count on that, please. Hello, Fred Huber. Nice to have you here. You got to change the spell list for sure. We're going to change the spell list. Hello, Steve C. How you doing? Also, too, I want to say a big, huge thank you to Pale Rider for being here. I appreciate it. It's nice to have you here. Always good. Okay. And I see that we have a few people here. Let's get going. I'm not having a 4-day weekend. I'm having a 2-week holiday. Okay, that's my plan. Let me show you what I have, and then we'll go into nuts and bolts of making some adjustments because there's quite a lot to get done. And again, I might have to run longer than 2 hours to get this done. I realized this when I was looking at it. I was like, I don't even have enough time to do all the prep that I would like to do for this, just because it's so complicated. And I've run this monster a few times, and I don't know that I've necessarily hit on a combination which I feel satisfied with. My players are usually very good at dealing with high-level monsters, just because they're experienced players. You know, that tends to happen sometimes. It's like players know what they're doing, learn the game, they figure it out. So let's go up here to the top. This is our stat block. Now, there are a number of problems that I noticed, and it's not just in the spellcasting. Okay, we're going to get to the spellcasting soon enough, but we're going to deal with the basic nuts and bolts of this thing first before we go anywhere else. Is a lot of the numbers are heavily reduced to what they probably should be. If you look at how, you know, stat blocks are sort of built based off the challenge rating for your monster and things like that, I almost immediately had problems with armor class, hit points. I had an issue with the fact that the challenge rating was a challenge rating 21, and really a lot of its numbers do not sit in line with that. It just doesn't work. So we're gonna do the best we can to figure out how long our Lich can deal with things before it's kind of poked, because even if you use a whole lot of undead or give it some sort of physical lieutenant to do the fighting for it, the Lich is going to be the only thing the players gravitate towards. Spellcasters, ranged attackers, even the melee attackers, they're either going to fly over the top of the barrier that the Lich has created with his minions. And I mean, when I say minions, probably something that can take like 100 or more hit points worth of damage. So it's not going to be just a one-hit wonder necessarily, although it might well be. It. 21, level 21. 21 challenge rating means your characters are probably level 20. I've seen what level 20 characters can do, and it's terrifying. So let's have a look at some of the problems we have. I've always found with a Lich that an armor class as low as this just basically reeks of you die really fast. The chances are the players have a plus 15 to hit, which means to hit the armor class of 17, the only way they can miss the Lich is, as it's written, is if they roll basically a 1. If they roll 2 plus 15 is 17. Well, they hit the thing, okay? I've put 19 there. That would be the bare minimum that I would have your Lich at. And even that won't make much of a difference, because now they're only rolling, instead of rolling a 2 to hit the damn thing, which means pretty much going to hit it all the time, guess what? Now they only have to roll a 4. Now you could say, yes, but you have shield. The problem with shield is only plus 5. So if you go from, it's got an armor class of 17, and you add 5 to 2, okay, wonderful. So now they have to roll a 7 or higher to hit your armor class. It's just not going to work, okay? It's just not going to work. The odds are that they are going to hit the Lich every single time. And melee characters, they could teleport with Dimension Door, with teleport. They could use something, a small spell like Misty Step could get them to the Lich. And then all of your close quarter melee characters can unleash on that thing. What's worse is, at level 20, it's not uncommon for a level 20 rogue, to be able to hit and do 150 to 160 points of damage. It's actually not unusual. It can happen. And if they decided to multi-class into fighter and pick up action surge, then they can make more than one attack. Now, one of those will be with, obviously with the sneak attack, and the other one won't. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's just about increasing the chances of being able to do that. And you're probably thinking, yes, but you still have to have advantage or an ally within 5 feet to get your sneak attack. It's actually really easy for a rogue to get advantage at high levels. It's really, really simple. So that means that this Lich, if we put it up against a cleric, a wizard, a rogue and a fighter, a party of 4 players, the rogue will kill it in the first blow. Probably. It will probably kill it in the first blow at level 20. It won't even survive for the other 3 players to attack it. That's how bad the situation is. I have had, when I ran it as it was, I don't think I had that many battles where it extended beyond about half the group going, or maybe 3/4 of the group. You usually didn't get to the bottom of the initiative order. It's very unusual. So even if we max out our hit points to 198, we're still probably not going to survive the level 20 characters. I would say we might get roughly, if we're lucky, we'll get 3, maybe 2 or 3 of the characters will take their turns, and then the Lich is dead. And that's, that's if the rogue doesn't get to go first. Maybe they go last. If the rogue goes first, if the rogue gets a critical, holy shit, it's over Grover. So, so we have to do something about armor class. And I think the simplest way to look at this is we can go with natural armor as an explanation as to why the Lich has got an armor class of 19. But you probably need to put some magic armor on your Lich, okay? Stick some +3 magic armor on your Lich. So this is what we'll do. I'm going to make this, because if you look at the Dungeon Master Guide here, you'll notice a couple of things. What's this? Of course, Lich needs undead animation spells that the PCs can never use. Oh, fair enough. You turn 59 tomorrow. Well, congratulations, Steve. Happy birthday, youngster. Now, if I go to page 274, a challenge rating monster 21 should have a proficiency bonus of +7. That's fine. Now, I don't have a problem with that, because if we think in terms of a level 20 player playing their character, their proficiency bonus maxes out at 6. So good. We're in a good spot with that. Okay, we know what our challenge rating. We're not going to change the challenge rating. We're just going to change everything else from there. I think that's the smartest way to go. So that's the first thing. Next, challenge rating 21. Armor class needs to be at least a 19. At least a 19. And so what we're going to do is just going to get rid of this bit. I will just unhighlight this little piece here. I'm going to have to go fairly quickly because there's so much work to be done. And I don't know how else to sort of write this in a way that sort of makes it clear. So what's the best way to sort of describe this? Because based off, the dexterity, you've only got a dexterity of +3, and then you've got your 10 that goes to 13. You're saying, where are you getting the other 6 from? And if you're putting down natural armor, what does that make sense? Well, it's because it's magically hardened in some way. Its bones, its structure, its body is magically hardened in some way. We need to be able to stack something on top of that natural armor as well. So that comes down to magic armor, sorry. Add +3 magic armor. If somebody can think of something specifically that would be useful, armor to boost armor class. And I'm not American, so we're going to go to British. Okay, armor. I know it's an American game, but yeah, it's one of the things you have to put up with is me. It's messing with my spelling over here in New Zealand. Okay. Hello, Mr. Welsh. How are you? Don't worry about maxing out hit points. The Lich's connection to the negative material plane gives it a aura of armor. Thanks, Fred. Okay, all right. Petrified bones or armor. Petrified bones is I think it's probably the easiest way to go about this. Hello, Glenn. You need to incorporate some sort of magical protection for the armor class. There is no way No way you're going to encounter a Lich that doesn't have some sort of magical protection. Oh, I have a contingency plan. You may have already figured out where I'm going with this. I have a contingency plan. So, yeah. If you go by the methodology of the monster manual, the Lich in our exercise would have a challenge rating of 25 or 27. Sort of. Okay. All right. So, okay. So, magic aura or runes to boost the armor class. So, really, our armor class is going to be at least a 22. 22 up against players that are challenge, got a level 20. It's not a lot. Okay. So here we go. I don't want to move too far out of things, because let's establish that our Lich is probably only going to last about 1 round, because the players have got so many different things available to. If we might not even get to the bottom of the initiative of round 1, and that's fine as long as we build it so that we can do what we need to do with it. And I have some horrible things in mind, but here we go. So we're going to do this. I believe I had... What did I do with the dragon? I think I had just marked this like that. Did I put in brackets? I can't remember. Let's have a quick look. If it's going to load up. Is my internet going to be going slow? No. Okay. All right. Good. Because we did the red dragon a couple of days ago, didn't we? And so I just need to make what was my convention. So I put in the average and then I did that. Okay, so that's fine. So we'll get rid of the brackets. I've marked the average down, but the one you want you to go through is 198 hit points, which even for a challenge rating 21, it actually recommends that your number of hit points be 401 to 445. So our Lich. Do we want to last that long? Is 1 round enough to get off enough to really scare our players? Probably not. The way it's built, it's just not going to work. I was thinking we would just do a lot in 1 round. But even if we do a lot in 1 round, like the fighter's going to have like 160, 150... No, 250, 260 hit points. If you've got a barbarian, that's going to be even more. You've got a wizard who's probably going to have close to, I don't know, somewhere in the vicinity of, say, 980. 160 hit points on a wizard, more than likely at level 20. You've got a cleric who's going to have a bunch more as well. They're going to at least be over 200. And the rogue is also going to have quite a few hit points, so maybe around 200 as well. So that's a lot of hit points to dispose of for our Lich. So we've got a little bit of a problem here. I feel like this calculation here is our biggest headache. I don't think that calculation, that equation there isn't going to work. I'm fine with the add 54 because that's based off its con, and but these 18d8 it's just not going to work. It's got to be something else. We're going to have to pump that a lot to make it work. So let me grab a drink of water. Yes, that's right. Level 20 cam PCs will have an armor class of 20 normally, quite often. Magic tattoos for protection. Look, whether it's runes or tattoos, I couldn't give a shit, but you need to give them something else. Okay. Now, my idea was about how to make the boss type creature last a minimum number of rounds, and then evaluate how much damage has to be done. Magical tattoos or protection, or steal from the other editions. Well, we're going to steal some of it, but I don't want to make it too complicated either. This is the problem. If I make it too complicated, you're never going to be able to run the damn thing. Okay. Casting permanency on the age doesn't matter. Okay, Spells when encountering them. With an overburst damage. This Lich can be Mike Tyson in its prime. Okay, all right. So there's a lot of stuff being thrown around here. You're gonna have to. We're going to use legendary actions, but I'm going to use legendary actions a little bit differently. Very much like the Red Dragon the other day. Okay, so all right. So I can see you guys putting in here. Lich needs to have defensive position. Improved. Greater invisibility should be on their spell list. Yeah, I agree. A powerful isn't. Okay, let's go with. Let's fix the fact that 198 hit points, which is his max, is really only going to give us 1 round of combat, maybe a little bit less than 1 round of combat. So we want to stretch that out a little bit longer. I'm fine with 2 rounds of combat and we're done. But that doesn't mean they're going to get to just cast 2 spells. So I'm going to do a lot more than that. But how do we do that? Something that has got roughly that built into their equation. If I remember right, and I just go here and I do my math just very quickly, 18 times it's 4.5, isn't it? 4.5 comes out at 81. Is that really what we're dealing with here? That's pretty pathetic, isn't it? I don't have a problem with the D8. It's just, okay, here we go. Add 54 comes to 135. So that's how they calculate it. So let's do, we're going to have to use quite a few. I don't want to use a D8 though. It's just a nonsense in terms of an equation. Because you're going to have quite a few added to make it work. What's the best way to do this? Let's have a look and see if we can 18. Let's go 40 times a D8, which is 4.5. That will only give us 180. That's the D8 isn't going to work very well. But it's also a resting mechanic too. Remember, 5e has a resting mechanic, which I don't particularly like, but it's there, and the D8 is to sort of reflect that. So let's ditch that idea because that isn't going to be enough. Do I go 60 times 4.5, which is a D8? Well, that's 270. That's still not going to get us where we need to be. Geez, this is ridiculous. This is where... okay, so let's go 80 times 4.5. Okay, we're getting closer to where we need to be. It's not perfect, but it's a lot closer, and that would probably be the way to go. So if we use 80 D8, which is a shitload, I know, and the average being there, that comes out at 360. That's more like it. So we're going to go 80 to give us a bigger timer. Plus the, what is it? What do you call it? Shit. Well, that's for the average, isn't it? That's not going to work. It's not going to work. I want the max, not the average. So, okay, so here we go. Try that calculation again. I misthought about this, didn't I? Let's go 40 times 8. If we maxed it out, that's 320. 40 is still not enough. So 50 times 8 is 400. Okay. Okay, so we're now 45 is probably going to be our sweet spot for this at max hit points. Okay. So that's 45. 45 D8 plus that should get us where we need to be in terms of max. So 45 times 8. Yep, 360. Fine. And then we go add the bonus, which is 54. Okay, so we're going to wind up with a maximum of 414. That's much better. 414. And then we're going to do the average, which, if I go back and do the calculation, is 45.4. Oh, come on, Fred, what am I doing? 45 times 4.5, which is the average. 202 and 5, add 54, comes out at 256, and we'll round down. 256 is your average. Okay, that's a timer. I would use max hit points so that you get yourself at least to the second or third round. Probably not going to go further than the second round, if you ask me. That's probably what we're going to do. That's how we'll approach it for today. Okay, so I can see there's a lot of feedback in here. Hello, Negative Space. How you doing? My main issue with the stat block is the abilities and spells. Yes, we're going to get there. All right. I'm going to mark here. I'm not going to be able to keep track of chat very much, people. So you're going to have to do something to make your comments stand out. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. About legendary defense. Oh, don't worry. I've got an idea. The contingency spell is our friend. Okay. Forget about lair actions. Lair actions are nice, you know. I don't have a problem with lair actions, but it's not going to solve our problem. It's not the lair that needs to be cool. It's the Lich that needs to be cool. Legendary effects, times 10 a day. Okay. I know where you're going with this. Extra hit points is easy bump. Constitution up to a 24. That gives him plus 7 hit points hit die. Yeah, but I don't think the con needs to be up. I just need to, yeah. So I'm going to just push the dice up rather than worry about fiddling with the con. Okay, let's just make it easy for myself and everybody else. Okay, next, moving along. Armor class 22. Okay, so that is a... so now, here we go. We have strength, dexterity, con, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Mechanically requiring a high degree of magic. Martial weapons are our biggest problem, I find, with the Lich. Is even if you can shut down and deal with the magic, or even, you know, contend with magic users, it's the martial characters as soon as they get close enough. Okay. So we'll leave these other numbers here. I don't think we need to really fiddle with them that much. I'm not really that worried about them. Moving along here, though, and we might have to make some adjustments here to int, because I noticed the attack bonus for the Lich is crap. It's really bad. Saving throws, so con, yep, that's fine. Intelligence, we've got at a 12 for a saving throw, which is 7 plus the 5, which is, yeah, okay, 12. Wisdom, okay, we've got the wisdom, cool. Immune to piercing. Okay. All right. Immune to piercing, slashing from non-magical weapons. I want magical weapons to be able to go through it. I still want them to be able to be affected by that. And poison. Those are damage immunity. So magical stuff will get through. Non-magical stuff, completely immune to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. That's not the issue. At least something like damage resistance here. Okay, the cold, lightning, and necrotic. You can't get through the damage resistance by using a magical weapon. This is one of the things that is good about the Lich stat block that Wizards of the Coast put out. It doesn't matter if you have a magic weapon. You still have to deal with, if you're doing cold or lightning or necrotic damage, you're still going to have halved damage, which is good. That's fine. All happy with that. Arcana is crazy high. Wisdom... history is what? Intelligence and that, so that makes sense. Our Arcana has been boosted in some way. We don't know exactly how it is. I'm not entirely sure. Wisdom, perception, insight and perception. Okay, that's fine. We'll leave them alone. Condition immunities, charmed, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, and poisoned. I think that covers all of the basic ones. I see they have true sight at 120 feet, which is exactly what I'd expect from a Lich. You should have true sight. You shouldn't have to cast a bloody spell. You should just have it. Okay, so for sure. I can see a lot of things are going in here. Can deviate all the damage done to him in one round. Little party. We don't need to do that. What we want to do is we want our Lich to be able to cast spells and scare our players. That's what we really want to do. So I'm just going to just punch this in. I'm reading down here as much as I can. Okay, add resistance for all that is immune to when non-magical. Add resistance for all that is immune to when non-magical. Well, they are still resistant. I see what you're saying. You want to add resistance so that that you reduce the amount of damage done to it. We don't need to worry about that. We just boost the hit points and we solve that problem. Did I mean? And by boosting the hit points, we don't have to worry about having damage resistance to every fucking thing under the sun, which is another calculation. Remember, for everything that you have damage resistance to, when the players say, I did 60 hit points, if you have damage resistance to it, I now have to recalculate. It's not 60, it's 30, because I've got damage resistance to that. Hopefully you'll remember that as well, right? So it's another calculation. You're getting information. It is better just to go with, okay, I've got 400 and so hit points and I deduct 60. That's much easier to deal with rather than I go, incoming damage from players is 60 hit points from that one blow. Okay, I now have to halve it because of resistance. It's now down to 30. Then I take that 30 and I deduct it from my hit point total. You're adding in too many calculations along the way. So let's just keep it to cold, lightning, and necrotic. Okay, easier just to go with a bigger number. It'll work out fine in the end. Remember, it also has to work in terms of what's the word? It still needs to work so that you can get by as a dungeon master and run the damn thing. And right now, it would be a problem. I'm going to include telepathy. By the way, I don't understand why a Lich wouldn't have it 60 feet. So we're going to give them telepathy at 60 feet. Common language plus 5 other languages, that's fine, but just give them telepathy as well. Hello, Agile Monk, how are you doing? Bruno, hello Bruno, how are you doing? Nice to have you. Skill, religion, I don't know that we need to worry too much about it. Are we worried about this because we feel like the wizard has so many skills and they've only got 4 trained skills and we feel like they should have more? Is that the issue? Because if we look at a wizard, right, and how many skills they get 2 from their class and 2 from their background. We've got the most essential ones, Arcana, History, Insight, Perception. Are we really going to be using them that much in our game? Remember, the stat block is a reflection of the narrative, but often it's only going to be used in combat. So, I mean, is it going to be a big deal? I don't know that it is. Hello, John. How's it going, Agile Monk? Spells that steal hit points. We don't need to create new spells, people. So glad to see that you're working on the Lich improvement thread. You're welcome. Fivey really didn't cut it near. Older editions of AD&D did a very good job. Yes, I agree. They did. AJ just messaged me on Twitter thinking I was doing the live stream. Oh no, I'm the one doing the live stream. And I'm the only one stupid enough to consider this. I have an idea for legendary actions. We're going to get to that. 1 round, the Lich becomes immune to damage type. They have taken... Okay, I see where we're going with this. All right, so we need to get past the numbers and get to where you really want to talk about stuff. Okay, so let's do that. Let's deal with legendary resistance, which is only 3 times a day. Fuck that. That isn't going to be good enough. Okay, so we have to solve that problem right there and then. This isn't going to be good enough because your players know this. Even if we bump it up to 5, at level 20... you got at least 2 spellcasters in the party, the cleric and the wizard, and potentially more who are leveling spells at your Lich because they need to use some sort of ranged attack. If they don't have a ranged weapon, they're going to use ranged spells, and they're going to hit it with everything they've got. Okay, that's a reality. That's how it works. That's how players think. That is how they've run me down. So this is what we do. We ditch this. Forget the 3 times a day nonsense. Once per round is good and easy to track. You know that I get to, once per round, I get legendary resistance and I get to do something. So just build that in. Once per round. I did this with a dragon. Trust me, it's fine. Okay? That means if you have 2 rounds of combat, you'll get to use it twice. If you wind up with 3 rounds of combat, you'll get to use it 3 times. If you have 5 rounds of combat, you'll get to use it 5 times. I doubt you're going to get 5 rounds of combat, but if you manage to pull it off, well done. I'm impressed. And then we're going to add in magic resistance. Has anybody noticed that there is no magic resistance for the bloody Lich? So let's just give them magic resistance. That means advantage on the saving throw. That will increase our chances of success against magic, should there be magic that gets through. And that not necessarily going to get through too, by the way. Let's get real. It's not necessarily going to get through. Okay, so I'm just seeing. Oh, Jean. I'm just trying to make sure I get. Is there anything here that I need to be aware of? I see some suggestions. Waiting till we get to spells. That's right, Steve. Wait till you get to spells. Give me time to get there. Is doing 2nd edition spell resistance. Totally agree with. Look. We can use 5e to our advantage. It's all right, okay, without going into 2nd edition AD&D. Yep. Yeah, you will definitely have to deal with optimized level 20 characters, okay? If anybody's playing to level 20, the chances are that's happening. So, Lich is going to have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Done. Next, rejuvenation. If it has a phylactery, and a Lich should have a phylactery. If it has a phylactery, a destroyed Lich gains a new body 1d10 days, regaining all its hit points and becoming active again. The new body appears within 5 feet of the phylactery. That's fine. So even if they destroy our Lich and it gets reduced to 0 hit points and it's out of commission, and we don't give it saving throws, you can give a Lich, if you wanted to, a saving throw, people. Believe it or not, it's an important NPC or monster. You can give monsters saving throws. Just because the players have them doesn't mean you can't give them to a Lich. But we don't need to make that part of the stat block. That's really unimportant. All this tells you is they've beaten the Lich for now. And if they can find the phylactery, I don't know what you're doing with your Lich, mate. You're screwing things up. Now, the Lich is an 8th level spellcaster. Bullshit. Bullshit. We're not doing that. Okay, I'm moving that right now. It's a 20th level spellcaster. Its spellcasting ability is intelligence, okay? And the DC that we should be setting should be fairly high for our Lich. If you look at the challenge rating at 21, we should have a DC of 20. Your players are going to have a 20. The chances are that you'll find that most of your spellcasters have 8 plus their proficiency bonus. So 8 and 6 comes to 14. Then they're going to add on their what do you call it? Their modifier for intelligence or wisdom or whatever it is for their spell casting, which is probably going to be a +5. And if they haven't got a +5 by the time they get to level 20, they've been taking too many feats. Okay, their problem, not ours. So that means they're going to have at least a DC 19. And if they have a magic item that manages to push their intelligence up a bit, which can happen sometimes, they're going to have a DC 20. So our Lich has 8 plus 7. Okay, what do we get? 8 and 7 is 15. Plus our 5, we're at 20. Okay, so that's good. Fine with that. DC 20. This is where our problem starts to unfold. Okay, and that is its attack, its spell attack is really, really bad. It's not good enough to deal with a level 20 character. It's going to get crushed. Okay. We don't have to, but I still want to build it within the 5e rules. It's supposed to be remastering the 5e rules. It's not about turning the 5e stat block for the Lich into the AD&D stat block. Okay, it's about trying to work with the maths and the system so that it would work for 5e without making it horrendous to manage. That's all we're trying to do. Okay. Was for RP reasons. Oh, for RP reasons? The idea. Bruno, I'm not sure what thing you said. Oh, skill. RP reasons. Well, we could do that. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Like, RP reasons, does it matter? Religion, nature, heck, we could give them a whole lot if we really wanted to. They are essentially a sage. How many skills do you get as a sage? And, I mean, yeah, why not? It really won't have much of an effect. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Let's just put that there. We don't have to follow all the rules for the players' characters. Whatever rules the players have for their characters and how they're built, we don't have to follow that stuff, okay? We can actually go outside of that. Right, down here. So at a level 20 character is most likely going to have a 6 for their proficiency bonus, a 5 for their best ability score modifier, okay? So that's 6 and 5 coming to 11. Okay, all right. But here's the thing. I almost find that most martial characters and most spellcasters in some way have some way of pushing it a little bit higher than that. So usually it'll be a magic weapon. At level 20, they've probably got a +3 magic weapon. So our piddly little 11 to hit is now probably more like a 14 with a magic item. And then almost all martial classes, whether it's a ranged attack or it's worse for a ranged attack, because a fighter can get a +2 to their attack when they're making ranged attacks, right? So if you go specialized in that, you get +2. So it's going to be even higher. The other thing that tends to happen is there's always one way of getting a +1 to your attacks somewhere along the line when you're looking at the martial builds. There's some way of getting a +1 somewhere. So they're probably looking at least a 14 or a 15 to hit. And spellcasters, you might say, ultimately spellcasters might not have quite as high an attack modifier. But that doesn't matter. We have to deal with the martial classes, not the spellcasters. That's our biggest problem, is dealing with that. This also means that if most classes that you're fighting got an armor class of level 20, like if you're dealing with level 20 characters and everybody's got an AC or armor class of about 20 or more, then to actually hit them with a spell, I have to roll an 8 or more on this dice to hit them. 8 or more. That's rough. That's not good. So how do we deal with that? I think the easiest way to deal with that is to go with, we push it up. And we force it up the only way I can think of, and that is we move the intelligence modifier, which means we move the intelligence score. Because otherwise we have to start giving him magic items, and I don't want to necessarily do that. I think it would be better to just break that level 20 barrier that we've set ourselves in the first place. Druid, the Lich could have 9th level spells. It already does have 9th level spells. Got a House of Emergency. You go do what you need to do. Okay, so we're going to break. It says for level 21, our attack bonus should be 11, which is correct. But practically, I find like my spellcaster, my wizard, who is level 11 right now, has a spellcasting attack bonus of 9. +9. And 11 at level 20. I mean, pushing that number up anymore is much harder, but it's going to happen through magic items and other things. Like you wind up picking up stuff that helps you boost stuff. So 11 or 12 is probably not going to be enough. I would push it up a bit higher, okay? Just because you're going to need to. There's a 20th level spellcaster. So we'll push them up higher than that to a 15. Is it 15 or a 14? 14. I think it's a 14 actually. Let's go 14. We're not going to change the challenge rating, because I don't think this table is accurate enough to be able to pick that up. Okay, particularly around attack rolls near the top end, because you're dealing with things like magic items and other things that are coming into play. So we're going to go 11. We're going to assume that our spellcaster has some sort of benefit that increases their spell attacks. Okay, that's what we're going to focus on. And so that means we're going to go back and make some adjustments. 7 plus, so we need to have a 4, we need to have a 7 in here. We need that to be a 7, not a 5, which means we're going to have to push it up higher. So I'm going to do that now. 7, and that means it's 22, 24, 25, 24, 25. So we're going to go about there. Actually, it can be 24, it'll be fine. Okay, that's right. Intelligence will go up. 7, 7 is 14. Okay, that's all stays the same. That goes up by 2 points, doesn't it? It's 21. Goes to 14. Goes to 14. Move that. Perception stays the same. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. We're getting closer to these spells, people. Now I've got to calculate this. So 8 plus 7 for a proficiency bonus, plus the 7 for our intelligence modifier because we pushed it up a bit. So 7 and 7 is 14, and then add 8 is 22. Okay, 22. It is not uncommon for players to be able to hit a 22 DC. I've had that happen at level 20 more than a few times. It's kind of crazy the way things work. So let's do that. We're going to keep it alive a little bit longer. Okay, we're getting into spells, and this is where our weeds start to come apart, and it gets really complicated. And I want to sort of save that to last, because I have a few things that I want to do here with that and the spell casting. But our numbers, I'm reasonably happy with our numbers right now. Okay, next, paralyzing touch. Well, we're going to move that to a 14, and we're not going to use strength for this paralyzing touch or dexterity. Paralyzing touch is going to use intelligence. Okay, so 7 for the intelligence modifier, 7 for the proficiency, pushes us up to, when you touch somebody, you get screwed up with a 14. That's what we're going to do. All right. I know that the convention might not seem right, but this is where we probably need to sit. This here DC is now, forget about that. We're going with 22s for your con. Get rid of this and delete. Okay. So the target must succeed on a DC 20 Constitution saving throw or be paralyzed for 1 minute. So the target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turn, ending the effect on itself on a success. Now the problem with this is it's pretty easy to get to succeed on this eventually. Even if you get them, even if you're successful on the first round, the second round, even if they fail on the first round, they'll probably succeed on the second round. They're level 20. And if you've got a paladin rocking around, then hitting the 22 is not going to be that hard. But the damage output, you're not getting more than one attack. Okay, that is your main attack for your Lich. And that's just touching. There would be no point in using paralyzing touch, okay, if all you do on average is 10 cold points of damage. Like, that's really quite ridiculous. Do you know how much damage you're supposed to be doing with your Lich at 21? At 21 challenge rating, it says you should be doing roughly, where is it? 141 points of damage to 158. That's how much damage you should be putting out. How the hell can you pull that off, okay, with paralyzing touch? Now, the going thing is you don't use paralyzing touch, you use spells, and I get it, okay? Totally understand that. You want to go as high as a 15. Makes sense. Afternoon. Hello, Nacho Man. Lich has sentries to collect spell books, pick up stuff, and other things. Look, do you really want me to push it to a 15? It really wouldn't make that much of a difference. I just didn't want it to be sitting, because let's get real. The attack isn't the thing that we care about. It's the saving throw that we care about. The attack is really unimportant, okay? And the spells we're going to be focusing on, even if they succeed, they're going to still get screwed up, because you're not going to use the stupid, if you succeed, nothing happens. That is not a good spell. Not for a Lich, okay? We want to go somewhere else with that. So I don't think we need to worry about it just yet, but I'm open to it if enough people say, no, it must be 15. Honestly, it's the 22, and we're using saving throws that do damage even if they succeed, okay? So I'm going to mark this in the chat. I'm going to keep going down because I want to move back to the spells and start showing you what I want to do here. So the damage output here is ridiculous. This isn't going to work. There's no way you would ever use Paralyzing Touch. There just isn't a circumstance that would arise. And you might say, but if they get up close, then you'd use Paralyzing Touch. Really? Would you really do that? When you can think, like I could probably do more damage with Magic Missile, and I don't even have to roll to hit. Magic Missile would do more damage, probably, and even if it doesn't do more damage, I don't have to roll to hit, I don't have to worry about saving throws, none of that sort of stuff. So I probably wouldn't do that. I don't have to worry about it being up close. I would just use Magic Missile. I use Magic Missile when they get in my face. I don't worry about using Shocking Grasp because it's a cantrip, and there's still a chance it won't do very much. So no, I just use Magic Missile. So Paralyzing Touch, unless it's trucking out 140 to 150 hit points, there's no bloody way we'd ever use it. So what do we do? What's the problem here? The problem is that we have to actually put in a number here that makes it a significant and serious threat. You're only hitting one target, which is bad for a Lich. You want to be hitting multiple targets, right? And so I'm fine with it being a Paralyzing Touch. That's fine. But we can't have 10. That doesn't work. So how do we get to 140? And I don't recommend you roll dice for this sort of stuff, people, because it's quite ridiculous. So we need 140 to 158 on average as our hit. That's a lot. So let's go back to our calculator, which I'm on now. And let's think about how we can do this. Well, I don't think a D6 is going to work. Forget about a D6. We can make it whatever the hell we will like. It needs to be a D12. A D12 multiplied by what? If we were to go half of 12 on average comes out to roughly, what's that, 6.5? Isn't it? 6.5. So 6.5, and we'll multiply that by, say, 20. 20? Well, that gives us 130. Okay. And we're not adding a modifier to this, Paralyzing Touch, but we could build in the addition of that. That would only get us, though, to 137 on average. Still not really quite enough. We need to push it up a little bit more. So let's go with, if we want to get into the 41 range or 140, let's go with, let's say 22. Let's try 22. So 22 times the D12, which is 6.5 on average, comes out at 143. And then if we add 7 for our spellcasting modifier, which is a 7 now, that gives us 150. That's not bad. I think I can live with that. Your players might be shocked, but they should. So 22. Okay. Your fighter can be hit by that probably about twice, and then they'll want to go home. And then we're going to add there. So that is going to come out at, let me just make sure I got that number right. So 22, oops, sorry, do it again. 22 times 12 equal, oh no, not 12. If they do max damage, that would be funny, but yeah, 22 times 6.5 equals 143, so it's 150. 150 plus 7. Yep. Okay, so 150 points. If they get a critical hit, it's going to look like 300. But that's life. You shouldn't get don't hope you don't get touched by the Lich. Don't get close. Okay, this here is our problem, legendary actions, and I want to do a few things with this before I go for a quick break and come back. Okay, so we're going to, now I know people are looking at me and saying, you have got to be kidding me. Seriously, level 20 characters, I used to do, every attack I was doing 105 points damage. I think they lasted with me doing that sort of thing, and I was doing a lot of that. I was doing as a reaction, like I would literally not on my turn, but you know I was doing that as a reaction. Like I'd put at a ice beam on a Titan, and it'd do 105 points of damage, and they say, "You kidding me?" I said, "You're level 20. How many hit points you got left?" I got 150. I'm like, "What are you? Stop crying!" So here we go. This is what we're going to get to do. We're going to get rid of this because this doesn't work. Okay? And our Lich needs to have a legendary action that they can take at the end of every player's turn. Every legendary monster that you have should work this way. Standard actions. You can keep all the standard actions. I couldn't care less. The Lich is never going to use dash, dodge, grapple, help, search, shove, use an object. They're never really going to use those. So there's no real point worrying about them. Paralyzing touch, okay? Using paralyzing touch, I'm not against the idea, but usually if they're in your face, why are they there in the first place? It's a little strange. Why does it cost 2 actions? Screw that. 1 action. If they're stupid enough to get up in your face, that's their problem. They shouldn't have done that. Okay? Now this makes getting into melee with a Lich a lot more difficult. This cantrip nonsense here for a Lich is shit. Okay? If you're going to have to fight off an entire party, you're going to have to do a lot better than that. So, disrupt life. Let me just move these down. Okay, so that's what we're doing with our legendary action. You get to do one at the end of every player's turn, which means we need to include some spell casting, and casting a cantrip is not good enough. I'm sorry, people, but if we start looking at the list of spells that we can cast, we need to start considering using as a legendary action being able to cast a level 1, a level 2, level 3, level 4 spells. Heck, maybe even level 5 spells. There needs to be a lot more going on for the Lich to actually be interesting. Otherwise, it's not. So, a couple of things to do. Frightening Gaze. I'm going to come back to... no, I'm not going to come back to this one. I'm going to come back to that. That's why it's highlighted. Frightening Gaze costs 1 action. The Lich fixes its gaze on one creature it can see within 10 feet. One creature is affected. The target must succeed on a DC 18, which isn't going to be a DC 18. Screw that nonsense. Remember, our DCs are higher. We're going to get rid of that crap, and we're putting it in 22. Wisdom saving throw against this magic, or become frightened for 1 minute. Okay, the frightened target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turn, ending the effect on itself on a success. If a target saving throw is successful, or the effect ends, the target is immune to Lich's gaze for the next 24 hours. That's fine. One creature. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? One of the things we need to be able to do with our frightening gaze is potentially have them all run away. Now, they're not going to all run away, because I can assure you that more than half the group are easily going to pass that 22 wisdom saving throw at level 20. So, necrotic touch, paralyzing. It's paralyzing touch, and we've got. I'm not using D6s. I'm using D12s. It's nice to use D12s. The Lich reaches out and touches you. Save player D8. That's 27. No, I'm pretty sure I got my maths right with the Paralyzing Touch. That should be one of the most fearsome monsters in the game. It will be, and it should be, yeah. We need to be able to affect a number of individuals within a certain range on any creatures. Any creatures that can see within 10 feet. Now, 10 feet is pretty bloody close. And if we're going to use something like this, and all they're going to do is be frightened and run away. It's not even run away, they just don't get to come any closer. They're not coming closer. If I remember, we had this discussion about Frightful Presence, and the problem with Frightened is it's not like it works as, oh, now you get to run away. I'm pretty sure Frightened is not like that at all. It's like this, isn't it? A frightened creature has disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. Well, good, because god damn it, they're rolling only a 2 on their 20-sided dice to hit us in the first place, normally. Not now. Now it's a 7. Or is it an 8? Something like that. While the source of the affair is in line of sight, the creature can't willingly move closer. That's all that Frightened is doing with that ability. So screw that idea. 10 feet? No. 40 feet and I'll feel better. Everybody thinks they're safe at 30 feet, so make it 40. Okay, so, and you can do this. It's just, you don't have to worry about burning up action points because you're only going to get 1 at the end of every player's turn. If you have 7 players, you're going to be able to use 7 legendary actions. Okay, and you could use Frightful Gaze every single time if you really wanted to. I don't know why you would bother because it seems silly to me, but it's there as a choice. Next, Disrupt Life. 3 action points. What does this thing do? Each non-undead creature within 20 feet of the Lich must make a DC. Well, that DC's gone. Forget about that DC. DCs like that don't work. So we're going to get rid of it. I know people, look, anybody in here who's like, Fred, you're getting silly and this is too hard. This is why I don't show people what I do with high-level monsters, because you just freak out. Anyway. But I am today, and I did for the dragon as well. So here we go. You must make a DC 22 Constitution saving throw against this magic, taking 21. Now I don't care about the 21 hit points because it's pretty pathetic if you ask me. 21 hit points, which is 66 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. We should be able to, if we're lucky, okay. If we are going to activate something like this, 21 hit points. If we have 5 players, we're doing roughly 105 hit points of damage, which is actually lower than we should be putting out. And that's spread out again, amongst all of them. Increase the range. If you're going to use it and you're going to do something like this, just increase the range. Disrupt Life. Being here as a legendary action, okay. The thing that pisses me off about this is all we've got is Paralyzing Touch, and what they've done is they've given us all these legendary actions, which are fine because they're legendary actions, but we have to make a choice about whether we decide to use them or not. And I'm not a fan of this, so I'm going to move things around a little bit in a second. So here we go. Failed saves, successful. So we do damage no matter what, okay? On a failed save, half as much damage. So we're going to pump the damage up a little bit, okay? I think roughly an 8-sided dice would be nice, or go with 8 6-sided dice in terms of damage, so we can spread out a little bit more damage amongst all of them and use an action. Geez, there's a lot of comments here. The gaze should be a cone. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to make it just a range. Cones just make life difficult for you. Inspire fear and absorb hits. Show me the teddy bear with a lich. The party's this missing. Okay. Yeah, area control. Don't forget once a day. Lich death touch. Death touch. Yes, remove runaway option, frightened, suit of armor. I see what you're saying, people. I see what you're saying. Let me just go here. And I think what we need to do is, these things should really be sitting over here. So we go here, cut. And I know we're taking away things from the legendary actions. I know it looks bad, but we're going to reposition them just a little bit. And we're going to put them over here. Okay. It's not the end of the world. The stat block's not really getting any bigger. Okay, there we go. So we're going to put these things here. These are the things that we're going to have here. But we're going to change the damage output on this. We're also going to add in another line, which I haven't put in yet, but we probably should. And that is, you know how our dragon has the ability to scare you and do damage? This thing here only targets one creature. This thing here can target multiple creatures. Still doesn't do enough, and we'll need to change that. But really what we need to do is we have to have some sort of multi-attack for our Lich. When it gets to take its turn, it should get to do something as part of a multi-attack option. So let's push this down, and I'm just going to repurpose this. I'm going to rewrite this a little bit for our Lich. So copy, paste. That doesn't work. Let's try that again. Well, that didn't make any sense. Let's try that again. One more time. Okay, that's better. All right, so move this up. And then we need to actually repurpose this bit here. Lich. The Lich can use its frightening gaze. Frighten gaze. And either the paralyzing. Now, did I get this right? I think that's right. Okay. Gaze. And either the paralyzing touch, or we go with the area disrupt life. Okay, forget about this chlorin thing. That goes. Remember, Frightful Gaze is not that great, and if we're going to use it, let's use it in the way that we need to use it, and it needs to be combined with the paralyzing touch or either the disrupt life. So our actions are a little bit more useful to us. Otherwise, it's going to suck. It really is. Okay, that's that bit done. I need to do something with the damage here. I'm going to just highlight this, but I need to piss. Okay, and then I'm going to do a little bit of tinkering. Not a lot, but a little bit of tinkering with the legendary actions, and then we're going to go back to spells. Okay? If they're undead or evil aligned, they might heal 50-50, still die outright. Maybe. Multi-attack. The Lich can cast a spell and something. I can't see what you're saying here, but let me just have a look here. Multi-attack. The Lich can cast a spell and choose from the following actions. Actually, you're right. You're right. It should be something like that. The Lich can use its Frightful Gaze and either the Paralyzing Touch, disrupt life, or cast a spell. Yeah, I agree. Or cast a spell. I guess I hadn't thought about. I was thinking that whatever you do with your main action, you're going to cast a spell. You're probably not going to use Paralyzing Touch and Disrupt Life. The only reasons they're there is to actually incorporate them into the legendary actions as things you can do as well, if you want to. Okay, so let's leave that there. I am going to take a quick toilet break. I'm going to ask you a question though. And I really want you to think seriously about the sorts of spells that you should have as a Lich. Because if you've ever seen the spellcasting list for the Lich, it's really bad. It's not great. Here we go. Oh, Agile Monk, thank you for the $20 super chat. Please do once a day a Lich Power Death Touch. If the players fail a Constitution saving throw, the PC dies. If they save, they take 50 hit points of their existing hit points in damage, and the Lich gains their lost hit points. We don't need to, because I got something much worse than that. Just because you kill one player's character does not solve your problem. There's a spell in the game that can do much more than that. Yes, I'm cold today, that's why. So thank you for the super chat. Here's my question to you people. Start rattling your brains. Hashtag, what spells should the Lich have? Okay, if you think about 5e, what spells should the Lich have? I've made up my list of the things I would pick, but I want to be very interested to see what you want to put in there. Think about that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go take a quick break. I will be very fast. Give me less than 5 minutes, and I should be done, and then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of that spell casting. Alright, I'm coming back in, people. I'm almost ready to go again. Let's have a look and see how you guys have done. If you come up with some good ideas. I'm looking forward to seeing what spells you have suggested. I really am. I'm also looking to see if anybody's come up with a combination of spells. A combination of something as a contingency. Have you got a contingency spell ready to go? You know, just in case things go badly for our Lich, which is quite plausible. You know, there might be a time that we have to bug out. So I'm really, really interested to see what you guys have come up with. Going to be a super interesting development in terms of what you do. Fred Huber, they choose a spell list for the thing the Lich makes. Okay. Old school option came. Old Dragon back in. Okay, so Lich Power Death Touch is a Lich spell. Yeah, it's only a Lich spell. In other words, it's only something they can do. I get it. Wall of Iron. Okay, so there's a couple of different things we can do here. Finger of Death. Oh, God. Nacho. Have you seen Finger of Death, people? Have you actually had a look at Finger of Death and what it does? It's very thematic, but it's shit. It's absolute shit. Magic Jar is a better one. Magic Jar's better, but it's not the best. You guys have really, you haven't played at high level, have you? Greater and improved invisibility. There we go. Fred Huber gets points for greater invisibilities. Wish. Finally, somebody said wish. I'm like, good. The other one you suggested, Steve, I see problems with that one. It might actually wind up being unnecessary, but it's definitely, I would say, a good idea as an option if you wanted to do so. You could definitely do something like that, and it might have some use to you. Let's go back to the Lich. And you guys keep pumping out your ideas. The ideas that I've seen you put down are already on my sheet. I don't even have to bother looking at it. I can tell you right now that I did a bit of research beforehand, and I had a big hard think about what would be the better option. We're going to fix Disrupt Life. Disrupt Life right now is not good enough. Okay? Because we do 150 points on average with our Paralyzing Touch. And our Disrupt Life is going to hopefully affect the entire party with 30 feet, but it may not if they don't get close enough. So we need to pump up this damage because that would only come to 105. So we need to think, okay, how can we make this easy for ourselves? Instead of rolling more 6-sided dice, why bother doing that? Let's just go with 12-sided dice. You know, 12-sided dice are nice. It's good to have 12-sided dice. Or do people like rolling 6-sided dice because they're easy to access? Maybe it's the 6-sided dice because you just like to have 6-sided dice. There you go. And then it's a smaller number, so we can get away with just sort of like a little push. I'm going to say let's go with 9. 9 6-sided dice. Plane shift, not bad. 24 D12. It's not necessary. Gate, not bad. That's all right. That sounds like a plausible spell. You mean Arcane Gate, but I think it's Arcane Gate, isn't it? Okay. I'm just thinking in terms of sometimes 12-sided dice, people struggle to have 22 12-sided dice and roll it out. You shouldn't be rolling dice. If you're playing at this level, people, don't roll bloody damage. Okay? It's just a formula and calculation. You don't roll that many dice. You don't roll 44 6-sided dice because you don't have 22 12-sided dice. No, you don't. You don't do that. Anyway, let me just go down here. You keep throwing out your ideas. People like the idea of the 12-sided dice. Okay, we'll go 12. We'll go 12. I don't mind. It's really just a formula, isn't it, really, in the end? And my calculator, back to my calculator. So we need to push this up a little bit more. And we could go 6, might be a bit much, but we'll see how how it pans out. If we go 6 12s, which is 6 times 6.5, we get 39. If we multiply 39 by 5, because we should hopefully get the entire party, that's too much. So that's not going to be a workable option. So we're going to go backpedal a little bit, and we'll go with 4. 4 times 6.5, which is average on a D12, gives us 26, and then if we multiply that by 5, we get 130. It's still not enough. Okay, so maybe we need to just adjust again. So if I go 5 times 6.5, which is the average for a 12-sided dice, you get 32.5. I multiply that by 5, and I get 162. It's a little bit higher on average, and maybe that's a problem. I might just drop this down to a 10-sided dice and see if I can get it closer to where I need it to be. Sorry, people, a little bit of maths isn't required sometimes. So a 10-sided dice is 5.5. Multiply that by 6 is 33. I multiply that by 5, because hopefully the whole party is included. It's still too high. So we need to go, let's go 5 times 5.5 equals 27.5. And then multiply that by 5. It's too low. So I'm having trouble just kind of tweaking the number and getting it where I need it to be. But it is multiple targets. Maybe that's not that's actually not a terrible idea. It's still close enough, but not quite there. It's so minuscule in terms of the difference, isn't it? Can I do it with an 8-sided dice? If I go 8 times, say 8. No, it's no much. No, 8 times 4.5, which is the average. 36, that's still too much, isn't it? And multiply that by 5. That's 180. That's way more than I needed it to be. Yeah, okay, so this is me doing maths in the background while you guys are waiting for me to decide what the hell I'm doing. Okay, I think maybe that's as close as I'm going to get it. I think that's as close as I'm going to get it. I didn't really want it to be too much lower than 150, but it's just too hard to kind of get it exactly. Smaller dice maybe smaller dice would actually make it easier to get there. So if I go 3.5, which is a 6-sided dice, multiply that by, say, 10. No. 3.5 multiplied by 8. Okay. 8. I think that's right. And then I multiply that by 5. That's more like it. That's more like it. I think that'll be closer to where I want to be. Okay, so 8 times 3.5 equals 28. 28 is our new number. And we should hopefully be able to get the entire party in it with a range of 30 feet. If they stand back further too far, then obviously it won't work. But there are our options for that one. Okay, done that. Back to here. And what are you writing? Yeah, you're not going to find the phylactery. Not going to happen. Need to find familiar in the spell book to explain the familiar taking Drust Nigma, if possible, to suggest a divine spell, Spirit Guardian, to keep the players away from the body blade ward. I see people have put in a few. Finally, Fred Huber is the only one who said Meteor Swarm. I want to explain to you about what you should be doing with your spellcaster in a second, but yep, that's more like it. I'm going to leave this undone. Now, the only reason I'm leaving it undone is because I'm going to change this line, and I don't want to give it away just yet. Paralyzing Touch, that's bullshit. Okay. It's a basic attack. You get basic. The Lich can use its Paralyzing Touch. Where is it? You can use its Frightening Gaze. Frightening Gaze. Where is it? I need to shift them around, don't I? That should really be at the top. Cut. Disrupt Life. Disrupt Life. Okay, so we've got all of those. We're going to come back to spellcasting in a second. Let's go deal with the spells. Is there a new super chat? Oh, there is. Spell, escape, explosion. The spell, the Lich cast spell teleports to an unknown location while creating an explosion in the spot the players are doing. I know what you're talking about. There isn't a spell in 5e that does that. Thank you for the $20 super chat. There is a way of doing this in 5e, by the way. For those of you who are wondering, there is a way of, when things go badly, of getting out of dodge, okay? And we're going to use that as sort of our escape route. But you can also use it another way, which is pretty horrible as well. Just do this. These things aren't really things I care too much about. The lair actions are fine. I don't really care what they're doing, honestly. They're good enough. They're not the reason why you're here in the first place. Let's go to spells and spell casting. And let's start. The temptation is to start with the low-level spells, but that's not where we need to start. Because remember, you're not going to get to cast that many spells. You're going to be dead pretty fast, okay? So we need to be able to make this work. And so we start with the most powerful spells we could possibly cast. I was thinking Earth Mold, Shape Earth spells have knockabout. Yes, yes, yes. Stone to Mud, Stir, spells. I see where people are going with this. I'm looking. Blade Barrier. I'm not a fan of Blade Barrier. Okay, here we go. This is what we're going to start off with. Turn resistance, bullshit. Turn immunity. If you can use your turn undead on a Lich, you have a faulty Lich. It's like having a faulty dog that can't play ball. Okay? The Lich is immune. It's immune to any effect that turns undead. I don't know why they put a resistance in there. It's like, oh, because they won't have a chance for you to actually just make the thing run away. No. None of that bullshit. Now, 9th level spells. You get one 9th level spell. I have no problems with that. Here's the thing though. Power Word Kill is a shitty spell. For a 20th level character or a challenge rating 20 monster, it's such a piece of garbage. Has anybody ever read the description of Power Word Kill? If you are using Power Word Kill, and you should be unloading with your when it's your turn to cast a spell, what you really want to be doing is casting a spell straight away. Okay? You're not going to go multi-attack. I do my Frightening Gaze and then Paralysis Touch bullshit. You're not going to do Disrupt Life and Frightening Gaze. You're not going to do any of that. You're going to go Frightening Gaze and you're going to cast a spell. And you're going to cast your 9th level spell. Nothing else is good enough. Because you need to get it off fast. And you don't know where you're going to be in the initiative order. So hopefully you're not too far down it. So that's what you want to play with. You do not want to be playing with Disrupt Life and, Paralyzing Touch. And Frightening Gaze is just a benefit. Hopefully it works and hopefully, maybe it doesn't. What you want is the 9th level spell. So let's have a look at 9th level spells. And for me, there are only 2 that are worth considering. Meteor Swarm and Wish. Okay? But let me just read out Power Word Kill for those of you who are unaware just how crap it is. Where is it? Page, Power Power word kill. I wish I had a little windows open that I could just go to, but I don't have that set up. Here we go. Power word kill on page 266. This is what it says. Oh, power word kill. There it is. I get to do 100 points of damage. So if a creature has 100 points or fewer, it dies. There's no saving throw. They just die. Isn't that amazing? No, it's not. Your wizard at level 20 does not have 100 hit points. You have to hurt it first quite a bit before you're even going to get power word kill to work. Your fighter has probably got 250 to 260 hit points. Your barbarian has even more. Okay, all the other spellcasters and other classes probably have in the range of 200 hit points. Power word kill will never get used. It's crap. It's utter shit. Get rid of it. You don't want it. The only thing that you want is Wish or Meteor Swarm. They are the only things good enough for a level 20 character. Okay? And if you're going to have a monster, don't mess around. Now, here's the thing. The problem with Wish, you decide. I'm going to let you decide which one you take. Okay? Meteor Swarm or Wish. Wish, you could just say, I wish the characters no longer exist. Or they all die and become zombies. And the game is over. Okay? And hopefully they fail all the things they need to fail with Wish. Or you can cast Meteor Swarm. Now, what does Meteor Swarm do? You get 4 meteors that come down from the sky, or from wherever the hell you like. It could be inside. It doesn't matter. It's magical. They're magical meteors. They come down and they smash into the earth. They have a huge range. Now, this is the one spell I want to go into the most because I've used it before and it's horrendous what it will do to your players. Okay? This is what it does. They have to make a dexterity saving throw. It doesn't even matter if they save on their dexterity saving throw. Just assume they're going to save, the 22 to save them dexterity saving throw. They're probably going to pass that. Not a worry. Don't worry about that. But you get 4 meteors. And that meteor has a 40-foot radius sphere. Okay, that means you're dealing with 80 feet in diameter. That's twice the size of Fireball. And it's going to do 20d6 bludgeoning damage and 20d6 fire damage every single meteor. If you want to kill your players' characters, Meteor Swarm is the way to go. Now, how do you do that? Well, you only have to pick a point where they're going to land. So what you do is you just station them. If the players have not spread themselves out really, really widely, which they probably won't have, you just position them like pinpoints and you have them all land basically around the same place. As long as you're not hitting yourself, who cares? The chances are your wizard's dead. Even if they save on every single saving throw. Chances are, even with, roughly 160 hit points, they're probably not going to survive. I know this because it's happened in my game. Because I used it. You're going to find that the barbarian and the fighter might well still be standing. Depending on how you've positioned it, some of the other classes may or may not still be alive. This is what you're aiming for. And this is why I'm going to write here, recommend as first opening spell. So normally you don't write in tactics into a stat block, but I am writing tactics into a stat block, okay? Meteor Swarm or Wish. Those are your own, that you decide which one you want and you go from there. I would suggest Meteor Swarm over Wish. Wish is like, you're still, with Meteor Swarm, at least somebody will be alive and they will learn their lesson that going and screwing with a Lich is a bad idea. Okay, here we go. Next, level 8. Power word kill. Much like power word stun and power word kill are the same vein of being kind of shit. They're not very good because your players have too many hit points at high level. You're never going to get power word stun to work, and you're only stunning them for a very short period of time. It's such an awful spell. Why would you even bother with this? Don't screw around. Why are you worrying about dominate monster? Is this because we're worried that the Lich cannot protect itself from monsters? The players are not monsters. The only thing that the Lich needs to worry about is the players. So forget about this thing. Okay? Complete waste of your time. There are only 2 spells that you should ever consider, in my opinion, at level 8. That is Sunburst and Demiplane. And the reason for Demiplane and Sunburst are different. It depends on how you want to play out your Lich. Sunburst because it will do a shitload of damage. Okay? Demiplane because you can now escape. It's an escape tool. That's what it's there for. So you can do something with it. Okay? My suggestion is decide which one you want to go with. You could there are other tools that allow you to escape as well. You don't have to just pick this one. I can see there's a lot of feedback here. Hand slap. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. All right. Lich can always do self-destruct. We're going to get to that. I have a plan for you on that one. No, Agile Monk, your ideas are not lost. I'm about to show you what you can do in 5e that essentially does what you suggest. But it's not writing a whole new spell. It's handled in 5e. No, I understand. Tensor's floating disc works if you cast it above you with meteor. It probably. I mean, I would consider it a possibility, but I mean, is it going to stop all of the meteor swarms? Not necessarily. Agile Monk, I wish you had stayed longer because I want to get to the spell contingency because people don't use it very often, and you should. As a fault, Lich is a dog. It won't turbo. yeah, exactly. No monologuing. Don't do that. The wording pal, Lich should arrange to be first in round. But that's not always going to happen. Sometimes it's not going to happen that way. Prismatic wall. I don't know that I think prismatic wall is the solution there. Depending on the components of things. Prismatic wall. I didn't actually look up prismatic wall. I know I was looking at prismatic spray. And you reckon prismatic wall. Am I missing something? I don't think I've ever used prismatic wall before. Prismatic spray, yes, but not wall. Prismatic wall. Here we go. Shimmering, 10 feet long. Sheds bright lights. Okay, I see all this. And then what does it do? Acid damage, fire damage. The wall can be destroyed. Only one layer at a time. Oh my gosh, I see what you're saying with this. Yeah, that's probably another option, depending on how you want to go. I can see that. I can see that. Demiplane. If anything, Demiplane is, even though it's such a good spell. No, let's just put in here. What am I doing here? I'm marking with the wrong thing. Demiplane and Sunburst. That's not what I'm supposed to be here. Demiplane. Swarm. Or prismatic wall. I can see prismatic wall being pretty useful. Those are probably the spell. You pick one of those 3. I can see that. I can understand that one. That makes sense to me. All right. So, is it a 10 minute? It's basically putting a barrier between you. It's not, I wouldn't say that it's a I don't really feel like it is a tool that you use to mess with your players. Do you know what I mean? 7 layers. You're going to get through each layer. It certainly would be interesting. So no, fair enough. I can see that. I can see that. Let's do that. Creating minions is fine with Wish, but you know, Steve. No, I'm convinced. You convinced me. I didn't look at it. I've only seen one person ever use it, and for whatever reason, however they applied it, it came off weird. Anyway, next level 8, Sunburst and Demiplane. Escape or blow shit up. That's what I would suggest. Forget about 1 slot at level 7. You're going to have 2. Okay. This 1 slot nonsense isn't going to work. And you're probably thinking, you're never going to get a chance to cast all these spells, Fred. What are you doing? Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Okay, Finger of Death is a shit spell too. It's really bad. It just does not work with the fact that the players have so many hit points. So don't bother. Foresight. Okay. Have more spells prepared. Yes, no, they should. They should have a lot more spells prepared. You're right. Absolutely. So it would be what something. Yeah, but how you arrange that is really up to you. Let's keep going. So I'm going to go with Demiplane and Sunburst. I think those are my prime picks for a level 8 spell in terms of doing stuff. Everything else, unfortunately, like something like Maze, it's really only affecting one thing. Sunburst, you can affect multiple targets. Maze will only eliminate one individual, and that's probably not what you want to be doing, but, you know, it's up to you. Plane Shift, I'm not against Plane Shift, and, I mean, it to a large degree, it kind of makes sense, yes. Simulacrum is basically you're just making a shape. Force Cage, you could potentially lock up the player characters for a whole bunch of time and just go off and do your own thing. And that would piss them off. Teleport, I feel like it needs to definitely be there. So there's a few that I would suggest. So here is where I'm at. They have to have teleport. Because as John or Agile Monk before he left was mentioning, being able to get out of dodge and leave everything behind is a fun thing to do. And it will piss your players off no end. But here we go. And now we want to go, how many was it? I believe it's somewhere in the vicinity of supposedly 2, but we probably should have more. Just make sure I got this right. 2, yeah, there was 2 here. Plus teleport plus, and this is where I'm going to just take this, and I'll take that out, and then we're going to put this in here. Okay, so there's 2 ways of doing this, and actually even teleport won't be necessary because we can go Plane Shift and no, teleport's the one I wanted. Because Plane Shift, there's a problem with Plane Shift, and I had forgotten about that. Plane Shift, the problem with Plane Shift I've discovered is like when you cast it, you still have to walk through the portal. That's why I have put teleport there. And we're using teleport to escape. Because at some point your Lich is going to get hurt. And rather than relying on it having a phylactery, We want to make it clear to the players that they cannot just wipe this thing out easily. So teleport's great in that it instantly transports you and up to 8 willing creatures. Now you can teleport somebody with you, but you don't have to. You get to choose how that works. With plane shift, it's got that little provisor, and the provisor unfortunately sort of states something like you still have, it creates the portal, but I'm pretty sure you don't actually go anywhere. Was it right? You and up to 8 creatures who link hands in a circle are transported to a different plane of existence. You can specifically target destinations in general terms, So actually, no, it will work. You don't have to walk through. You're actually just transported. So we can get rid of teleport. Teleport won't be necessary. We can take ourselves to a completely different plane of existence, which will solve a lot of our problems. So plane shift plus simulacrum or force cage. I would go with those as my pick. So you're going to get 2 out of there, but you got to have this one. This one is so important. How are we doing, people? You still with me? We're now getting to the most important spell, contingency. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're saying, people. I know, I get it. Hang on, let's have a look here. You need to look at simulacrum. It's a shape that can cast a wish of destruction while you aren't there. Yeah, no, I believe it is a good spell. There could be a clone, a simulacrum of a Lich, and the players think that they are fighting 3 of the creatures, but 2 of them are much weaker. Yeah, but I wouldn't go with clone. I looked at clone, and clone, I don't think you can clone a Lich. I think that might be a problem. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. That's exactly what I was thinking, Fred Huber. But simulacrum, yes, you could probably get away with making that happen. Okay. What else you got here? Role playing wouldn't. Yes, must look forward to the iteration of the Lich. Great job. Thank you, Bruno. I will put it up onto Patreon once I get a chance. No, Counterspell will have to stay because I know you guys are all still. A lot of you still got Counterspell, even though I would like to ban the spell. Even my group still has Counterspell, so it's not gone yet. Live play. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is where let's move on. I can see what we were doing here. Let's fuck with the players, shall we? We are going to have 2 slots at level 6, not 1, because our spellcaster Lich is a 20th level spellcaster, not an 18th level. Disintegrate. I know you think Disintegrate's a great spell. It's a shit spell. I'm sorry. For a level 20 characters, Disintegrate just doesn't come up that much, so forget about it. Okay? We go over here, undo this, and then there are a couple of things we would like to have here. Contingency is not a choice. You should always have contingency. Okay? It should always be there. Globe of Invulnerability should always be there. Okay? Really, Create Undead should always be there. Because it should have undead that it has created and it can control. So these spells probably always had. What this does is, if we have used Create Undead to have our minions, we have 1 more slot left during that day that we can cast something with. We have 1 more opportunity. That means we can use Contingency or we can use Globe of Invulnerability. Okay? That's what it basically means. Now, if we look at how we want this to work, my suggestion to you is make this a choice over here. Make this a choice, the lightning damage thing. Okay, if you want to include that, you could. Create Undead. And let's see the look. Do people understand how Globe of Invulnerability works? Or hopefully they do. So here we go. Plus, and cut. Paste. Paste. Plus global vulnerability or chain out. This isn't really how I want to structure this. This global vulnerability here is not a good idea. It's a great spell. We should definitely have access to it. But the way that it's structured here is not great. It's not what we want to be having going on with a Lich. Global vulnerability where you have to cast the spell to put up that protection is not great. There's too many things that can go wrong. Okay, and they do. Ancient undead spellcasters can break the rules. They absolutely can. Counterspell would be like the wizard Jewel in Conan, like contest of force of wills. Yes, absolutely. I like glyphs of warding. Okay, summon undead and cast one. Yeah. So create undead is the one to go with. Invisibility. Don't worry, we're getting to that. We're getting to that. All right. So I'm going to do something with global vulnerability very shortly. Next. Cloud, Kill, and Scry. I don't have a problem with Scry. The problem is it's not a combat skill. It really isn't a combat skill. And that's a problem in itself. Wall of Force is probably one of the better spells, but it's not. It's only going to stop them. It's not an attack spell. Do you know what I mean? And so this is what I would suggest to you. Is you go here and you go something like this. Or Wall of Force. Depending on whether you want to be perusing people and checking up on them or not, or whether you would like to do something else, I'd go Cloud Kill for level 5, okay, Scry, Wall of Force. We need something that does damage and can hurt them. So, plus Scry or Wall of Force. Next. Blight's a really good spell. Dimension Door's a really good spell. But it's not going to do us very much good in a fight if we are dead. And Greater Invisibility, the great thing about that spell is even though it's I believe it's a concentration spell, Greater Invisibility, you can cast spells while you're invisible. There's nothing worse than trying to target something you can't see. Because a lot of spells require you to target or see the target to hit it. And if you can't see the target and it can cast spells, that's bad, right? This is what we used to do in version 3.5. I'm sure you did it in AD&D, and I'm sure it's been done before. And we need to go back down that route, in which is we need to mess them up while we're invisible. Greater Invisibility, concentration for 1 minute. It's only going to be useful during the fight. You or a creature you touch becomes invisible until the end of the spell, and that's 1 minute and you're concentrating. It's an action to cast, okay, and it's a 4th level spell. So this is what we got to do. This has got to be in the front. I hate to say it. I don't know why it isn't, but it should be. Okay, it should be over here. Paste. This should not be an option. This is a spell that we should absolutely be using. Okay. Polymorph. Polymorph is an option. It's a good spell, but I would say it's an option. What do you got here? Ancient Undead. So, Glyphs of Warding. I think I've got all that. Yep. Let's just hit this button here. And just mark my point. Okay. So we have to include a few things. Now, I'm not against things like Dimension Door or Polymorph or anything like that, but when you're selecting your spells, you've got a real problem if you can't attack and do stuff. Blight's a really good 4th level spell. Don't get me wrong, okay? Or plus, don't make Greater Invisibility an option, okay? Make sure you always have it. I'm going to set it up so you can cast it with your Lich, okay? And you won't need to worry about using your main action to cast Greater Invisibility because you won't have time. Greater invisibility, okay, it absolutely has to be a spell that you can cast as a legendary action. There's no way we can go let them have this work out where they're going to wind up dealing with the likes of waiting an entire round before you can cast greater invisibility. It's never going to work. So that's just not going to be a thing. Okay, forget about that. Counterspell is not an option. Animate Dead, in my opinion, is not an option. These are things that ultimately you should always have, in my opinion. Sorry, people, I'm just moving a lot of books around. So at level, so we've done that. I think I've got that right. We might need to increase the number of spells prepared, but again, I don't know that we need to worry too much about this. You know, how many spells they have prepared. I would just, ultimately, I wouldn't even worry too much about whether you've decided these are the spells that are prepared. I'd just leave them as options. Players are never going to know that whether you actually properly prepared them or not, or followed the rules for D&D. It's never going to be a factor. But, you know, we just need to make sure that you've got the right tools. So, greater invisibility, blight, dimension door, polymorph. Greater invisibility so we don't get hit and we can cast spells. Blight so we can hurt them. Dimension door so we can escape if we need to escape. Polymorph if we need to polymorph something or ourselves or some, you know, whatever it might be. Okay, now I'm going to go into level 3, level 2 and the cantrips in a second, but I need to come back to contingency. Contingency is a very important spell. And I'm going to mark it here as already cast. Bracket. Already cast. Okay, it's already cast. The idea is that when you use a contingency spell, you have to have a trigger. That trigger is activated and something else happens. Okay, this is what is so important about your Lich, is you must use contingency. Because your contingency is that when something bad happens, such as your Lich is reduced to half their hit points, this is what you would do. Another spell comes into play. Okay, now I wasn't sure if I should write tactics into here, but I think maybe with the contingency spell I should, just as a bit at the bottom. Okay, special note. Special note. The Lich has already cast contingency, the contingency spell to activate when it is reduced. Now we've got 400 hit points. We can probably get away with being reduced to, say, 150. It's reduced to 150. I wouldn't go 100 because it's too close. It's too easy for us to be. There's still a possibility the Lich won't get taken out, but it'll help. Reduced to 150 or less hit points. In which case it casts. Now, that's why we wanted to have plane shift. Plane shift. Sorry. Shift to escape. Now you can attach contingency to other spells. It doesn't have to be this. But that's what I'm going to put in as a note. This is its escape route. That's why we have to have contingency already cast. That's why you don't want to be using up necessarily your plane shift slot if you can help it. But you still have other spells in your repertoire that you could potentially have linked to contingency. It doesn't have to necessarily be plane shift. Plane shift means that basically that they're not going to get you. You're going to get away. Okay. You're going to screw with them, make their life miserable, and then you're going to get away if they win the fight. That's how it's going to work. That's how it's built to work at present. Summon skeletons. Hello, Pearshroom. How are you? What do you got here? Never split the party. What about Fly Fred? We're getting there. As Lich is in battle, split the party so you can squash them one by one. No, it's too slow. Won't work. Delayed blast fireball. No, fireball is good enough. Delayed is not necessary. Yeah. Flying often doesn't come into play. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Okay, so let me keep going while you guys are still focused on me for a little bit more. So we have contingency already cast, and this is what we're going to do, plane shift. And if you look at the spell, you just need to make sure that you understand that that's how it's going to work. Next, we've got some spells for 5th level. I don't honestly care what you decide to pick with regard to the likes of Cloud Kill, Scry, or whatever else. But I would suggest always have an attack spell so you can always hurt them in some way. That's why I've got Cloud Kill plus pick Scry or Will of Force. Okay, Greater Invisibility, got to have that. And then, oh, hang on, there should be 2 here. I put the plus in the wrong place. Should have Blight. Blight is a pretty nasty spell. Plus. Let's give you 3 of these. Dimension Door or Polymorph. There we go. Okay, plus. Next, here we go. We're going to give them Lightning Bolt. We're going to give them Fireball. Okay, we're just going to expand that out a little bit more. And let's just go here. Lightning Bolt. Okay, moving along. Acid Arrow, Detect Thoughts, Invisibility, Minor Image, level 2. The problem, I mean, Acid Arrow's all right. Detect Thoughts is useful, but it's more a roleplay thing. Invisibility, standard invisibility, you're probably never going to get to use it in the battle, so it's kind of redundant. Mirror Image might be useful. If you want to use Mirror Image, that's fine too. I'm not too worried about them. Detect Magic, Magic Missile, Shield, and Thunder Wave. I don't have too much of an issue with those selections. I suspect you're going to use most of your spellcasting at level 1 for Magic Missile and Shield, but more likely Shield. Like you're going to burn through Shield like you wouldn't believe. The number of cantrips that you get is only 3. That's not good enough. Okay, so we need to change this. And normally at level 20 for a character, you would get 5 cantrips as a wizard. Screw that. You get all of these. And I know you're looking at this and thinking, oh, are you kidding me? But these are the spells that are really important during a battle. So we're going to cut them and paste them. And move these along. All of the other things are really just like the utility spells. You would have them, but you're probably not going to use them in a battle. It's really Ray of Frost, Firebolt, and Shocking Grasp. And you should never really be getting to cantrips in the first place, if we do this right. Okay. Chain Lightning. I thought I had Chain Lightning in here. Did I leave it out? I thought I had written it down. Yeah, I got Chain Lightning as level 6. It's there. Don't worry. It's not gone. Did somebody think that I had left it out? I hadn't left it out. It's there. It's there. It's a choice. You decide. Roleplay, Lightning, Darkness, True Sight. Yeah, don't need to worry about that. Okay, so let's go on to the next step, which is to show you how the spellcaster should operate. What's the last thing I needed to do here? Did I do all the things I needed to? No. I'm running over. I'm running late, but I'm not going to work today. I'm going to be taking a rest. I'm going to go and have a bit of a nip, a cat nip after this. So, Globe of Invulnerability. Let's talk about Globe of Invulnerability. Part of the problem I find is that there are too many spells we need to put up as a lich to protect ourselves. So there's some things we need to have activated and active all the time. So we don't need to worry about casting those spells. Okay? And for me, Globe of Invulnerability is really your protection from spellcasters. If it were me, and it were possible to make this a permanent thing, I would. I mean, it makes so much sense that your Lich would probably have some sort of magic item that gave them Globe of Invulnerability, so that they never had to worry about certain level spells coming and hitting them. Let me read out Globe of Invulnerability to you. Okay? Globe of Invulnerability. It's an action to cast. You cast it on yourself. It has a 10-foot radius, which really doesn't mean very much, but that's fine. Its components are not a big deal. It's not costing that much. It's just like glass or crystal beads, you know. Concentration, so you do have to concentrate on it up to 1 minute. Okay. This is probably the one thing that is going to be a problem, because we want to be able to cast some concentration spells as we go. So we're going to have to do some naughty things with this Globe of Invulnerability. An immovable, faintly shimmering barrier springs into existence in a 10-foot radius around you and remains for the duration. Any spell of 5th level or lower, listen to this, or lower, cast from outside the barrier can't affect the creature or objects within it, even if the spell is cast during a higher level even if the spell is cast using a higher level spell slot, such as a spell can target creatures and objects within the barrier, but the spell has no effect on them. Similarly, if area within the barrier is excluded from the area's effect by such spells. When you cast a spell, use a spell slot of 7th or higher. The barrier blocks spells of 1 spell slot higher than above. So this is where we want to take Globe of Invulnerability and eliminate a few things, because it makes no sense that we would not be doing something like this. Okay? Globe of Invulnerability, if we're having to put this up, is going to be a problem. Greater invisibility, we don't want to have active straight away. Contingency has already been cast. Okay? It's already in effect. It's just waiting for the players to do something. And then we have our escape plan ready to go. And unless, of course, you just decide to change the plan. Globe of Invulnerability is one of those things where we need to be able to shut down spellcasters, because they are going to be the primary thing that's going to try to crush you. And so this is what I would suggest to you, is take this spell here and make it a non-concentration spell for a Lich, and have it already active and active all the time. That it's always in effect. Okay? So how do I do this? So that means that unless you have a 9th level spell, an 8th level spell, a 7th level spell, or a 6th level spell, the chances are you're not getting anywhere. You're not going to be able to wear it down with level 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 spells or cantrips. You're wasting your time. It's never going to have an effect. Okay? So we're going to just give the thing a ring. So cut. I believe that's right. Now, and let's go down here. Is it down here or up here? No, I think I need to go up here. I need to make sure it's in the area where you will see stuff, so that you know that you've got the stuff going. Paste. Globe of Invulnerability. Now, there should be, I think there's a magic item called Ring of is it Globe of Invulnerability or Ring of Invulnerability or something like that. I'm sure there is a magic item that does something like this. Okay. And let me just see if I can find this. Shizers. Magic items under rings. Okay, ring, R-I, ring. Here we go, ring, here we go. So we've got rings. Ring of resistance. Invisibility. We don't have Ring of Globe of Invulnerability. So, okay, here we go. Magic item. Ring of Invulnerability. X operates like invulnerability. Operates like the spell Globe of Invulnerability, but does not require concentration. Yes, your players might potentially wind up with this magic item. Okay? It's a fact. It could happen. Okay. This is what we want here. Nice and simple. That means that essentially you don't have to worry about your low-level spells just gently messing around with your Lich, because it would be a waste of time. Okay. So Globe of Invulnerability. Any spell of 5th level or lower has no effect on the Lich wearing the ring. I know that seems brutal. We've done legendary resistance, we've given them magic resistance, we've given them this, okay, and then we've done that. And then we've got all these spells here, and I know it looks like we're just pumping it up to the eyeballs, but seriously, your fight is only, even with 400 hit points for your Lich, your fight's only going to last about 2 rounds, maybe 2.5. If you're lucky, you'll get to 3 rounds. It's really about as long as that. It's not going to be much longer than that, okay? So if you really want it to have any effect, then you're going to have to do this. This is where we get to the fun bit. We have to look at our spells, because cantrips aren't good enough. Spellcasting. Spellcasting. As a legendary action, we need to allow our Lich to cast a spell. And a cantrip is frankly ridiculous. Okay, even if they get Meteorite Storm off and they get a chance to do that, it's probably not going to be enough. So this is what I would suggest to you. We're going to look at our spells that we can cast and the level they are. We have selected some of the strongest spells you can get. Okay. Well, Meteor Swarm, we do not want them to use that as a legendary action. We want the Lich to use that as their main core action. Prismatic Wall and Wish are too strong, so we say no. Sunburst is still very strong, and Demi-Plane is kind of getting into we escape. So just ignore them as well. Level 8, too strong again. Plane Shift is really our escape route. Okay, we've already built that into contingency in the first place. Making up multiple simulacrums is not really an issue. Force Cage could potentially trap the entire party in a cage if they're clustered really close together. You could wind up with them all sort of locked up for an hour and just you bugger off. So level 7, leave that alone. Okay. Contingency has already been cast. We don't really want to be casting that again. That would be silly. That's not what we're going to do. Create Undead would be fun, but is it absolutely necessary in the beginning at the front of the battle? Because really you should have Undead surrounding it. Chain lightning is potentially pretty brutal as well. And remember, we're going to be able to do other things. So this is where we start looking at 5th level spells. I'm going to suggest to you that anything, Cloud Kill, Scry is not going to come into effect. Wall of Force would be good to protect your Lich with. Polymorph, Dimension Door is just an escape route. Polymorph is like, it's changing matter. Blight is an attack spell. Greater Invisibility is really useful if we can cast that as a legendary action. That would make all the difference. Okay. Animate Dead. Absolutely, we should be able to do that as a legendary action. That means we don't have to worry about Create Undead. We've got Animate Dead. Counterspell is not really an issue. The thing with Counterspell here at this point is we're going to be using Counterspell to stop incoming spells if we need to. And you're only going to be using them for anything that your ring, your Globe of Invulnerability ring, they can't stop. Okay, because you don't worry about having that spell. You literally make sure it has a magic item that stops anything that's level 5 or lower. So you only have to worry about level 6 spells. So Counterspell can be there to deal with level 6, level 7, level 8, level 9 spells, but there's going to be a spell casting check being performed. Okay, so that's fine. You can leave that there. That's all right. There'll be a check. Dispel Magic, probably not going to come into effect that much, but if there's an effect that we need to get rid of, we need to have it, so we keep it. Fireball and Lightning Bolt are our main tools. I would say you're going to use Lightning Bolt and Firebolt a lot, and you can upcast them into different slots, so those need to stay. Okay, we want them as tools. They're not going to devastate a level 20 group. A group of characters at level 20, Fireball and Lightning Bolt, that's going to tickle them. It just means you can hit more than one. That's all it does. Acid Arrow, really, it's kind of a nonsense, but it's all right. Invisibility, if you don't have Greater Invisibility going anymore, then maybe that'll come to play, but it probably never will. Mirror image might be actually useful. You can create some images that make them confused. That'll mix things up. Detect Thoughts, probably not that useful in battle. Detect Magic's not going to be useful. Magic Missile and Shield are your main tools. Thunder Wave, they got way too close if you're using Thunder Wave. Magic Missile might even be better because you don't have to worry about saving throws, okay? And then you've got your cantrips, which, shit, if you're down to cantrips now, your Lich is dead. It's going to die. So this is what we do. The spells that we do not want to have you accessing and getting too carried away with is probably the level 6 spells. So we go down here, and it says here, instead of cantrip, the Lich casts a cantrip. Screw that. Casts a level 5 spell or lower. And you can cast, if you have 5 players, that means you can cast 5 spells. 5 spells that are level 5 or lower. So in one round, all of your level 5 slots are gone, potentially. Okay? Almost all your level 4 slots are gone. Then you're down to, in the second round, if you're still alive and they are still around and haven't decided to bug out and things have gone the way you wanted them to do, because remember, Meteor Swarm might not go off. If they counterspell it, if they counterspell Meteor Swarm, and they probably will, it might not go off. But we still need to keep continuing to fight with our magic and our spells at round 2. So round 2 rolls round. If we're still alive and in the battle and our contingency hasn't kicked in, then we're going to use the last 4th level spell. Okay, we're going to use our 3rd level spells, and we're going to start using one of the level 2 spells if we need to. At this point, we're into round 3, and we've almost expended all of our spells that we can as legendary actions. We're now down to spells that are higher level spells, and what you cast after Meteor Swarm is really up to you. You either attack or you defend. You decide what you want to do with that. I'm not going to get involved in that sort of stuff. But you have some options. You can create undead. You can use lightning, chain lightning. You can use the Force Cage if you want to. You can use Sunburst, or you can use Demiplane if you decide it's time to just bug out if you really want to. That's cool. But now we're really only going to survive and have enough spells to keep going, and we're down to first level spells and then cantrips on the third round. Your spellcaster should start running out of things that can cast by the third round and be down to cantrips. I think that's roughly where it would be for me. That's where I would sort of aim for. You could even, if you wanted to, you could go to 6th level spells, but I don't want you to think that you can just go pumping out 2nd level spells all the time, because that's not really the intention. That should time it so that you get to use all those spells that are in your repertoire. That's how I would do it. That's how I would structure my Lich if I want it to be able to be useful in the game and not wind up being the player's bitch, because otherwise it would be. Now, there's a lot of information there, but I've tried to build in stuff so that it's relatively easy to just remember, okay, I don't have to worry about anything that's level 5 or lower. It's not going to affect the Lich. Okay, there are a few things in here. So, before I disappear, I will have a quick look at the chat, and then I'm going to disappear and go and see what you have to say in chat. I'm kind of curious. I'd be interested to see what you have to say. I want to end this poll as well. I will go through the stat block very quickly for those of you who want me to. Do you think the Lich stat block for Dungeons & Dragons 5e needs fixing? Yes, 73%. Undecided, 13%. Just watching, 10%. No, 3%. Out of 30 votes. There's been a few people here at times. The concept is understand as natural order, not being chaotically disruptive. But okay, all right. So what we want to do with a Lich is we want to be able to push out as many spells as possible to really give them the feeling that they are facing a spellcaster, and a strong one. Okay, that would be how I would go about doing it to make it work for you. So let's go through the stat block for the Lich one last time so you can see all the changes that I made. And there are quite a few. Okay, there are a lot. So first off, the Lich. The Lich stat block for Dungeons & Dragons 5e needs a revamp, and this is the revamp I would suggest to you. First off, armor class, 17 is not good enough. Go to 19, and in fact, go to armor class 22. That may not even be enough. Give it just +3 magic armor or magic runes that protect it in some way. It's got some natural armor from its bones. It's got some other stuff going on. It's going to be tough to hit. Okay, otherwise it's going to get hit too much. Its hit points were ridiculously low. You wouldn't even get through one person's turn. If the rogue attacks first, it's dead with just 130 or 140 hit points like I had before. So we've pumped it up. The average is 256. I wouldn't do that. I think you'll find it will only live about 1.5 rounds, maybe 2 rounds if you're lucky. If you're really unlucky, it will only get through 1 round. 414 hit points go maximum. Will probably get you about 2 rounds to 2.5 rounds, maybe 3 if you're lucky. All right, so haven't changed much of the special of the ability scores, but we did pump its its intelligence is not 20 anymore. It's now 24. We've broken the barrier that is the capped at 20 thing. It's a monster, so it's got a +7 modifier for intelligence now. It's con stuff. We adjusted the con saving throw because of that. We've given it religion, and because of the boosts, you're going to find that +14 for your history and +14 for your religion, and your arcana is now going to go up to a +21 for your skill. Okay. All of its damage resistances I have not changed. Actually, the way resistances is done is fine for me. Okay, damage immunities still remain. Magic items will be able to, magic weapons will be able to get through bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, and poison damage. That's fine, that's good. Condition immunities like charmed, exhaustion, frightened, paralyzed, and poisoned are not an option. It's not going to work. It has true sight. That was good. We'll leave that alone. It's got common +5 languages, but I've given it telepathy up to 60 feet because there are certain things that, you know, a Lich probably can do all the time. It's just been around so long. So telepathy will get it past the problem of communication. And also you can scare them by being able to talk into their head. Legendary resistance was used to be 3 per day. Screw that, once per round. Don't have to track it now. You're only going to get to do it once, but you do get magic resistance now, which means you have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. On top of that, okay, that will only, those two abilities, legendary resistance and magic resistance, are only there to deal with things that are level 6, level 7, level 8, level 9 spells. Because you're going to give it a magic item, Ring of Invulnerability. Operates like the spell Globe of Invulnerability, but doesn't require concentration. So any spell of 5th level or lower has no effect on the Lich wearing the ring. Okay? Which is a hugely powerful magic item should the players ever get it. But if they manage to kill the Lich, why not? It's time. Okay? It's definitely an artifact-like magic item. Rejuvenation. If you kill the Lich, it won't matter. It's going to come back 10 days later, right near its phylactery in a new body. So this fight is just one of potentially many. Okay, next, spellcasting. It was an 18th level spellcaster. It's not anymore. Okay, I'm not going to do 18th level spellcasting. That's silly. 20th level. Okay, it's challenge rating 21. Make it a 20th level spellcaster. Its DC or saving throw for spells is a 22. Not the pathetic thing that they put there before. We've boosted up its attack, spellcasting attack. Okay, it should probably be roughly an 11 to a 14. I've gone with a 14. You could go as high as 15. It's got a bunch of spells. I've given it a whole bunch of cantrips. I've put all your attack cantrips in the beginning. So Ray of Frost, Firebolt, Shocking Grasp. I wouldn't worry with anything else. All the other ones are really probably never going to come into play. Okay, your first level spells, again, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I probably should reorder and make sure that Magic Missile and Shield are right at the front, so it's clear these are the tools you should be using first. Thunder Wave is fine, but it, you know, if you're using it, things have probably gone horribly wrong. Level 2 spells, Acid Arrow's fine. Detect Thoughts, you're probably never going to use it. Mirror Image, you probably will use. Invisibility, you're probably not going to use that unless you've run out of greater invisibility, and you're probably not going to have to worry about that. Next, level 3, Animate Dead, Counterspell, you're going to use a lot of this. Dispel Magic, you may wind up using this. Fireball and Lightning Bolt, they can all be upcast, you know, like most of these can, which is good news. Okay, so that's great. We're going to keep those there. Those are tools you're going to use quite a bit. Greater Invisibility, you should be using this spell fairly early on, okay, particularly as you can now use it as a legendary action. Blight is a good spell. Dimension Door and Polymorph, decide which ones you want. Okay, these are really more get out of dodge or distractions, or provide a meat shield for Polymorph. Cloud Kill is an attack spell. Scry you're hardly ever going to use, but Wall of Force will stop them from getting to you potentially for a little while. Contingency you have already cast, and you should always have it as a level 6 spell. Create Undead and Lightning Bolt are the ones that you'll play around with. Okay, you've got one spell slot to play either Create Undead or Lightning, Chain Lightning. That's it. But Contingency has already been cast. Level 7, Plane Shift. You should always have that because it's part of our Contingency spell. Okay, we're going to use that. You've got your option to create a copy of yourself. You've got your Force Cage if you want to lock down the party and they were stupid and they bunched themselves up. At level 8, you have Demi-Plane for escape and Sunburst to attack. 9, Meteor Swarm or Prismatic Wall or Wish. Decide which one. You need to open with this. This is the first spell you open with. Okay, you can't cast it as a legendary action, but when it's your turn, the Lich should be laying down one of these 3 spells. Okay, and that's the only time you'll be able to do that, and then you'll move to level 8. Next, turn resistance is now turn immunity. You should not be able to turn a Lich. Forget about that. Special note, the Lich has already cast the contingency spell to activate when it is reduced to 150 or less hit points, in which case it casts Plane Shift to escape. That's basically what your contingency is. Okay? So as soon as you get to 150 or less hit points, bam, contingency pops in and you escape. And you get to come back and annoy them some other day. Multi-attack, your actions. Lich has the Frightening Gaze, which it can do, and you can pick to use this or the Paralyzing Touch or the Disrupt Life. Multi-attack is not the best way to go with regard to the Lich, but they're certainly a lot stronger than they were before right now, okay? Your Frightening Gaze should affect anybody within 40 feet, and it's a DC 22 Wisdom saving throw. Frightening is not a huge benefit in a game, you know, when you're playing it at a high level like level 20. Next, Paralyzing Touch. It's now a plus 14 to hit, so you've got a better chance of hitting your target. You're going to do up to, on average, 150 points of damage on one target and paralyze them. Paralyzing Touch is really only for somebody who is stupid enough and managed to get up in your face and you need to shut them down for a little bit. Okay? Disrupt Life will affect pretty much the entire party because it has a range of 30 feet now, and it does 28 points of damage, necrotic, and it, you know, it'll do less damage if they save, okay? But you get to spread it out, hopefully, and share the love with the rest of the party, and they get affected by Disrupt Life because you've expanded the range. Your legendary actions. You can use any of these standard actions as a legendary action. You get a legendary action at the end of every player's turn. Okay? You can dash, you can dodge, you can grapple, which you probably shouldn't be doing. You can use the help action, which you probably shouldn't be doing. You can use the search action. Again, you shouldn't be doing this. You can shove, you can use an object. All of which you probably shouldn't be doing. But dash and dodge may be. Unless you really run out of spells and you're still in the fight, which I doubt it. Casting a spell. Forget about casting a cantrip as a legendary action. That's bullshit. Any spell that is level 5 or lower, you can cast as a legendary action. Okay? Basic attacks. You can use the Frightening Gaze if you really must. The Paralyzing Touch and the Disrupt Life if you want. Those are all fine. You're going to find that they will probably not necessarily be as good as some of your spells, but as you're losing some of the higher end spells, you might start looking at these as options. Okay? So you can pick from any of those three. And then you've got your lair actions, which I really haven't done anything other than change the DC to 22 rather than the DC that was there before. Okay, that's the extent of what I would do with the Lich for this game, so that you can actually have a fun time and make the Lich feel like a powerful and frightening spellcaster. And I know this seems utterly ridiculous in terms of what I've done today. But seriously, if you want it to work and you want to have a good time with it, and you want your players to understand that showing up at level 20 and facing a Lich is going to be tough, okay, this will do it. You show up at a lower level than 20 and you face a Lich, you better have prepared really well, okay? And your chances are even that won't be enough. You're going to get hit hard. You're going to get hit hard, as you should, Anyway. I'm going to get out of here because I'm going to lose my voice. And yeah, I hope that people find this useful. And if it makes you feel any better, like getting the Lich right is really difficult because the Lich is not supposed to be a solo monster. It should be a leader leading undead. And so if you don't have undead creatures with it, it's probably not going to work very well. Okay. I mean, it's fine if you use zombies and skeletons and all that sort of stuff. But if you don't have that sort of thing going on, it's going to be really difficult to make it work. It's just going to get caned. Anyway. Yeah, magic items. Yeah, you should definitely give the Lich some magic items. I have already built into the stat block magic items for it. Okay? Anyway. And I know Wizards of the Coast doesn't like doing that because that's sort of, yeah. But it should have some stuff on it. Just as the Mummy Lord should have a ring of fire immunity. Don't screw with the Mummy Lord and make it vulnerable to fire damage. Oh my God, that's pretty obvious as a problem. But anyway, I'm done. And I will be back in about 2 weeks. I'm going on holiday. If you see anything show up on my feed for shorts or edited videos, it is pre-recorded stuff that I've just dropped up and I haven't done very much. So thank you for watching and listening. Thank you to everybody who took part in the poll. Just the craft. You're having a laugh. Yeah, thank you for taking part in the poll. Thank you to all of my patrons and subscribers. Really, without you, it just doesn't work. And particularly to my subscribers, but also, my patrons really, they inspire me all the time. And they're probably the main reason why this has happened. The main reason why this has happened today, which I can't believe I did. Anyway, wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.